Sudan, since its inception, has been plagued by a series of conflicts. Around 1 million people have been displaced after intense fighting broke out a month ago. 2 generals and their armies are fighting for control in the capital city of Khartoum. This outbreak has led foreign governments to monitor the situation in Sudan and move towards the evacuation of its nationals. More than 400 people have died. Close to 4,000 have been wounded. With abundant oil and gold reserves, external powers are watching this conflict and preparing to get involved.
Millions of civilians bearing the brunt of a deadly power struggle.
For more than a month, fighting in Sudan has turned once bustling cities into battlefields.
Army is conducting airstrikes in the Sudanese capital of Khartoum.
Fighting is intensifying, sending some civilians fleeing for their lives.
This is a power struggle, a rivalry between 2 ambitious generals. But that could very well escalate into something bigger.
Civilians must be spared, and you must stop this senseless violence now.
Sudan is a land of rich history and diverse culture. It's located in northeastern Africa, bordered by several countries, each playing a role in its complex dynamics. To the north of Sudan lies Egypt, a country with deep historical ties and shared interests along the Nile River. To the east, Sudan shares borders with Eritrea. Sudan shares its eastern border with Ethiopia and its western border with countries like Chad. To the south, Sudan shares its border with South Sudan, a nation born out of a long and bloody struggle for independence. Sudan's strategic location holds immense significance. It lies along the Nile River, the longest river in Africa, offering a lifeline for trade, transportation, and agriculture. Sudan's location here near the Suez Canal and the Horn of Africa makes it geopolitically important. This is a major global trade route connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. With abundant oil and gold reserves, external powers have often intervened, supporting factions aligned with their own interests. One pivotal figure in Sudan's ongoing crisis is Omar al-Bashir, a Sudanese army colonel who took over the government in a bloodless coup in the late 80s during the country's second civil war. Al-Bashir dissolved the Sudanese parliament, banned political parties, and imposed Islamic law, establishing himself as a military dictator. And to solidify his control, he assembled a group of militants in the west of the country to make his own personal military force, later known as the Rapid Support Forces. This military force was led by a commander nicknamed Hemedti. Rapid Support Forces wasn't just an army. A vast collection of confidential banking and corporate records reveals that this military force operates as a highly profitable business enterprise. It seizes control of gold mines, engages in illicit smuggling operations, conducts border patrols, and offers its fighters for hire in neighboring conflicts. Additionally, it facilitates a lucrative gold trade with foreign entities, such as Russia and the United Arab Emirates. This made Hemedti super rich because he was able to use his tens of thousands of soldiers to control both the gold market and the borders of Sudan. The conclusion of the North-South Civil War in 2011, after years of bitter conflict and bloodshed, resulted in the birth of South Sudan as the world's newest country. However, this division came at a cost. Sudan lost 75% of its oil reserves, dealing a severe blow to its economy. Inflation skyrocketed and food prices surged. Al-Bashir's system of bribes and patronage crumbled, exacerbating the hardships faced by the Sudanese people and fueling their call for democracy. The quality of life in Sudan plummets, and by 2019, they have had enough. Protests began to erupt all over the country, and people started demanding democracy. The Sudanese army and the RSF, these 2 separate military organizations, saw what was coming. They joined together and removed al-Bashir from power, sending him to prison and taking control of the government. This happened in late 2019, putting an end to al-Bashir's 30-year dictatorship. And now, the leader of the Sudanese army, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, took charge, with the RSF warlord billionaire Hemedti closely behind. They claimed to be working together in the transition and assured the protesters that a civilian leader would eventually take over, bringing democracy to the country. However, the military leaders repeatedly broke their promise. They continued to govern for years, abusing and violently attacking the protesters. Everything reaches a critical point in December 2022, when al-Burhan finally agrees to hand over government control to the civilians. However, he sets a significant condition. He insists that the RSF no longer operates as an independent military force. Instead, he wants it to be integrated into the official Sudanese army, granting him control over it rather than Hemedti. And this is where a conflict starts. Hemeti, the warlord who has amassed immense wealth through his control over the army, strongly opposes this proposal. He refuses to allow his lucrative military business empire to be absorbed by the government. Consequently, he concludes that he has only one option left: to overthrow the government and assume leadership of the country. On April 15, 2023, Hemeti dispatched 2,000 of his soldiers to al-Burhan's private residence, which is a military compound. This provokes a violent confrontation resulting in a shootout, leading to the unfortunate demise of 35 guards. Al-Burhan narrowly evades capture, but the conflict quickly escalates, engulfing the capital city of Khartoum and the entire nation. The two factions, once utilized by the former dictator for different objectives, are now engaged in a fierce struggle to determine who will govern the country. Sudan holds significant geopolitical importance due to its strategic location. Positioned along the Nile, which serves as a crucial lifeline for Egypt, it boasts ports situated near vital global economic channels like the Suez Canal and the Horn of Africa. These channels facilitate the transit of approximately 10% of global trade, including substantial volumes of oil. Given its strategic value, powerful nations across the world are constantly vying to establish military bases within Sudan. The aim is to secure control over these bases and ports, recognizing their indispensable role in global trade. Moreover, Sudan is rich in valuable resources such as gold, zinc, silver, chromite, and iron. These resources are highly sought after by foreign nations, as they fulfill both their wants and needs. Consequently, powerful countries keenly observe the ongoing showdown between military commanders in Sudan, carefully assessing whom they should support in order to safeguard their interests for the future. Countries such as the UAE, Russia, Libya, and others are entangled in the conflict, backing different factions to safeguard their own interests. Amidst the power struggles and geopolitical maneuverings, it is crucial not to lose sight of the human cost of Sudan's conflict. The violence has resulted in a severe humanitarian crisis, with millions displaced and in desperate need of aid. Mediation efforts by Saudi Arabia, the United States, and China offer a glimmer of possibility. Sudan's story is a reminder of the interconnectedness of our world and the profound impact that conflicts in one region can have on global dynamics.